Mr. Barker.
Here.
Mr. Bilkey.
Here.
Ms. Brandt.
Here.
Ms. Tully.
Here.
Mr. Ventura.
Here.
And now I ask Tom O'Brien from the American Legion Chaplain to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance and invocation.
With bowed heads, let us pray. Almighty God, we ask for your guidance as we begin our Macedonia City Council meeting this evening. Allow our council members to proceed with open hearts as they seek solutions to the problems that confront our community. We ask humbly, Almighty God, that you watch over our firefighters, those brave men and women who run towards danger, not away from it. They are the first to arrive when we are in need of assistance or in the midst of a health-related emergency. Keep these community heroes safe as they perform their selfless duties. And finally, O God of mercy, we ask for thy blessing as you guide us, as we give comfort to our neighbors who may suffer from mental and physical disabilities. We ask that you bring them the blessing of health and happiness that our community offers. Amen. And now please face the flag and join me in our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Chaplain O'Brien. Always appreciated. Next on our agenda is the minutes from October 10th, 2019. Do I have a motion accepting?
I make a motion to accept the minutes as submitted by the Clerk of Council for October 10th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Next up, we have a proclamation for Prostate Cancer Month, and I'm going to read this out for everyone. Whereas this year, approximately 174,650 men will be diagnosed with prostate cancer in the United States alone. That is one man every 3.2 minutes, and roughly 31,620 will die this year from the disease, which is 87 men every day. And whereas in Ohio, an estimated 5,340 new cases of prostate cancer will be diagnosed, and an estimated 1,130 deaths will occur in 2020. And whereas nearly 30 million men in the U.S. are living with prostate cancer diagnosis, that number is estimated to climb to 4 million by 2024 as men in the baby boomer generation age. And whereas men with relatives, father, brother, son, with a history of prostate cancer are twice as likely to develop the disease. And whereas men who served in the military who have been exposed to chemicals and herbicides are at higher risk for developing prostate cancer. And whereas prostate cancer is commonly diagnosed, the most commonly diagnosed cancer in American men, and the second leading cause of cancer death behind lung and colon cancer. And whereas 1 in 9 men are diagnosed with prostate cancer in his lifetime. Overall, African American are 1.7 times more likely to be diagnosed with, and 2.3 times more likely to die from prostate cancer than white men. And resolved, all men are at risk for prostate cancer, and we recognize the citizens of the city of Macedonia to increase the importance of prostate screenings. And next on our agenda, we have public comments. We ask that you come to the microphone, keep your comments to 5 minutes or less, and state your name and address. First on our list today is Mrs. Koth.
My name is Shirley Koth, 902 Eileen Drive. I haven't been attending council meetings a lot last year. I've had a lot going on, and so I'm now just getting back into things. And I will tell you, I had some things on my list here that have changed as a result of being in the work session. I've been both pleased and disappointed in some of the things that have happened through the city over this last year or so. And the ones I'm pleased with, obviously, the roads are getting done, and I really appreciate that, and as do all of those that are in this town. Disappointed in that I think that sometimes I feel like we're losing our focus on what was promised to the people and what is actually happening from the levy. And so in the past, I've asked for transparency. I've asked for recording of all public meetings and availability. And I think in the work session, part of that was answered, and I appreciate that. The way I understand it, the work sessions will go back to an hour, and I think that's needed. I like the discussion I heard. You know, that's what I want to see. I want to see the back and forth. I want to see the different ideas. I want to see the disagreements. You ought to have disagreements. And I like that. And you need time to do that. I don't know what happens when you don't have time to do that. And also that the work sessions will be made available online also. And I appreciate that, because if I can't be here, I do like to watch them, and I think they're very helpful. The other thing that I'd asked for at one point was to have all the legislation online. Twinsburg evidently, it's my understanding Twinsburg does this, so that the legislation is online to the community like any of the other documentation. And it's updated after each meeting if there was a change or whatever it is. And then remains online until it is codified. Right now, other than bothering Josephine for like 9 zillion pieces of paper, which she's more than happy to provide, but I don't know that that's the best way to communicate with the public. And so I would like that to be considered, that we do that. And also more full discussion on the floor of what all legislation means. I mean, quite often we'll have something that's very iffy in its sound. And if we don't know as citizens to ask for more information or more detail, it's just going to slip right by. It may look just totally routine, like it's just routine or it's housekeeping or something like that. But we don't know when it isn't. And I think the most recent one was the mayor's salary. And I think that hit a lot of people by surprise. And I looked to see where was that promoted, let's say, or discussed. And I couldn't find anything. I didn't find anything in the newspapers, didn't really find anything online. And I mean, I didn't spend an excessive amount of time, but I shouldn't have to. And I think one thing, Jessica, you mentioned on some response to somebody on Facebook, that it was at the top of page 8 on the newsletter.
The e-messenger, yes.
And so I did go to page 8 of that newsletter. And first of all, I don't think that's the appropriate place for that to be mentioned. Secondly, I thought it's in addition to other things, it's fine. But I don't think that's where it belongs. And at least not as the only method of communication. And I also think that it's kind of funny because it was listed along with the water maintenance, and you know what kind of fallout you had on the water maintenance. Nobody knew what was going on. And it was really pretty simple. And that makes me wonder who's reading the newsletter. And I think more people should read it. But anyway, and I felt it was just kind of very vague what was put on there anyway. Then on the most recent thing with censure, and I'm going to be very generic about this, I think when censure is deemed necessary, then full disclosure is needed. If you can't, and I put that in quotes, then maybe censure isn't the answer. Can I finish? Okay. We're led to believe that the current censure doesn't affect the city or council functions. I happen to disagree with that. And on the mayor's salary, why was that so important right now? And why so much and why all at once? What other options were discussed? How would we know that? And I'm just asking what I just said about reviewing what we passed and what was promised. And I think for the most part that's it. So, but please keep up the communication that you did in the work session. I appreciated that. Thank you.
Mrs. Coth, thank you for coming back in. I haven't seen you here, so I did kind of miss you. I was glad having you back in. So the work session, and correct me if I'm wrong, I could be wrong, they're recorded, they're just not online. I guess I had assumed
It used to
the two
be
were-
online.
But that's where the meat of the.
I know.
Like today was a spirited discussion, and I
Yes.
like that. I mean,
I do too.
that's what we need to have. And,
Yes, I agree.
I think Jan's right, going back to the full hour and then moving office hours, because I have had people come during office hours and ask for help where they feel comfortable going in there and they're not Some people don't like coming up to microphone. I don't like coming up to microphone, so, but glad to see you back in here.
All right, thank you.
And just to address your question about the videos, and we've obviously had some technological problems. We were without an IT director for the better part of, I think, 90 days. So we're working back through that. We have a new gentleman in place. You may or may not have noticed that we have some technological things that we're putting dollars towards to correct those issues because our infrastructure and our software needs a major upgrade. So as we work through that, I'm trying to make sure that we're keeping our phones working. We've been having a problem with our phones where the phones haven't been working at all. And if the phones go down, no one can call City Hall. Fortunately, we can keep 911 up, which is the most important piece. But we're working on the emergency pieces, and we have quite a few of them. It's unfortunate, but those are the things that we're working through right now. And as to your question about with the salary of the mayor, when council talked about this, there's been a conversation for the better part of 10 years. I actually dug up some ones from back, I think it was about 11 years ago where that discussion has taken place. And we also communicate through Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, the e-messenger, what am I missing? The newsletter, Nordonia Hills News, what else?
The meetings themselves.
The meetings themselves, community focus. I mean, so right there I've named 8 places where you could see what we have. We're transparent. You said it was inappropriate to have that in the e-messenger, but we want to make sure you hear what's going on, and we put that out there. We're not trying to hide anything.
I think she meant that it was inappropriate, that was the only place that it was
Oh,
mentioned.
I'm sorry. But we did put that out in other places.
Yeah.
That was the only place.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood you. I apologize. But we did have that. I know that was on Nordonio's News. I know the newsletter had it. It was on Facebook. So that's been out there. It's been talked about. It wasn't something that was being hidden, and obviously it's being taped here and it was talked on council floor. So I appreciate it.
Well, I didn't see that, and I tend to disagree that it was communicated.
Can I interject? I agree with Ms. Cook 100% about the discussions, and we talked about the mayor's salary at length, and we apologize I didn't get out there. But the one question I get all the time is when it says an emergency ordinance, and everyone panics at, but maybe Mark should give the legal terminology. I think it means that's the date that's specified on the ordinance, correct?
Yeah,
Or it goes into
emergency
effect once passed.
legislation means that it's not subject to referendum and can take immediate effect. So if you have something like you want to go out to bid and you want to do it right away, you make it an emergency measure. That way, the engineer can get the notice out to get the roads paved sooner.
Doesn't mean it's an emergency. I guess that's what some people see the word emergency or like, oh, why, so that's.
And that comes down to legal requirements too.
Yeah, that's
It's
what I
legally, that's what we have to do. Same thing happened as I explained in the last meeting about the blue envelope you received in the mail. That was the legal notice we were required to send. And as I said in that meeting, should we have given a better explanation in an additional sheet of paper? Now we know that. But that was the legal notice that we were required to send, and that's what we did. But now we know for future that maybe we need to give a better explanation on the backside of that to say, hey, this is what this is saying, and we'll begin to do that. So I apologize for that as well.
With regards to the mayor's salary, it is a difficult topic, and I think that councils in the past have, nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody wants to do it. Nobody wants to pull the trigger. We had to get it done before December 1st is the beginning of the new term for the mayor, so we had to get it done before that. We started talking about it in July with an initial proposal that was bundled in with raises for other people in the city. We took it out of that and then made it its own discussion, and then there were 2 reads on that. We talked, it was in the August newsletter, and it didn't pass until September. So there was discussion on it, and I think council may have been a little too insular about that because we knew that we were talking about it. There was discussion with us, there was executive session regarding it, so we didn't talk about it publicly enough because, it didn't, sometimes you start navel gazing, as it were, and don't realize kind of what's going on around you. So to us, we had been talking about it a lot, but we perhaps weren't getting it out there and asking enough people. We did actually hear from residents. I know that Mr. Ventura talked to residents. I had talked to residents. There was stuff that was on Facebook prior to it passing, and a lot of people said, boy, I didn't realize that the mayor makes so little. So, we kind of took that into consideration. So I take blame in this because we all have the opportunity to talk about it in public, but there are kind of reasons why it ended up the way that it did, and it's definitely something that we'll be more mindful of in the future when we start talking, in the back room, in executive session, stuff we have to figure out what we can talk about on the floor.
Thank you. Next up, we have Chrissy from the ADM board.
I have about enough for everyone if you're interested. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to thank the mayor and the finance director for inviting me out here to talk for a few minutes about issue 14. It is the levy that will be on the ballot to support the Alcohol, Drug Addiction, and Mental Health Services Board in Summit County. The ADM board funds, monitors, and evaluates treatment, prevention, and supportive services for people diagnosed with substance use disorder and mental illness. The services that we fund go to over 30 agencies in the community. Locally, the closest agency to Macedonia would be Child Guidance and Family Solutions, which is located in Twinsburg. And the services that we fund impact about 50,000 people per year. I recognize, and in talking with the mayor, we know that Macedonia is far away from Summit County Center, and that oftentimes you may feel a little disconnected from services, and we are here to serve all of Summit County. So we talked a little bit about how we could be more supportive of things going on in Macedonia, and work with you guys on things you may need. In other communities, we have helped with the quick response teams that help people who experience overdose or drug-related emergencies get a warm handoff into treatment. We have prevention programming in nearly every school district in Summit County, and Nordonia Schools is a banner program for prevention for suicide and substance use prevention in all of Summit County, and we partner with Nordonia quite often with programming and outreach events throughout the year. So you guys have a lot to be proud of in your school system here in Macedonia. And in addition to those local things, we also fund 24-hour crisis intervention for drug-related and mental health-related emergencies, so that resource is available to the community, as well as many other outpatient and residential treatment settings for folks that are in the midst of these diseases. So the ADM board is a safety net for our community. Our levy is a renewal of a 2.95 mil levy that was originally passed in 2007. It will cost the owner of a $100,000 home about $7 per month. And like I said, it is a renewal. So we would appreciate everyone's support on or before November 5th for issue 14. And I have some cards on it I can leave out in the back, but if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer those as well. So I appreciate your guys' time and your support very much. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, and I appreciate you guys coming to meet with me to talk about that a little bit more. I think that's a great resource, and the key thing with what she said there is this is a renewal. This is not an increase, it's a renewal. It's a very helpful tool for folks to use when they may have some issues that need to be dealt with. So thank you again. Next up is Karen Bartolozzi.
Hi, 1377 Driftwood Lane. 3 issues. 2 are safety. One is the pork chop on Speedway still a little pork chop, and people still turn.
Can I have Mr. Gelati answer that for you?
Yeah, Speedway is going to rework their drive apron to create a larger pork chop. I know you're going to ask when. I don't know when, but they do have a plan in place that we've approved, so they will be.
Is it going to enough to stop?
Yes, it'll be a much larger pork chop.
Okay, the pork chop like first watch?
It won't stop. It'll help prevent, and I can tell you, I emailed the same question this week, so.
If it hurts your car, if you have to go this way, that will stop it, right? If it's dangerous.
It's gonna be difficult to turn left.
Okay.
It's gotta be a
And
more effective deterrent.
There's the legal,
the one on First Watch, same issue.
I haven't heard many complaints about that one. We
That's
haven't
even
really
worse
worked on
though when
that
they're
one.
over there.
As a matter of fact, the chief's shaking his head, so that's something I haven't heard much about.
Oh yeah, they do that a lot too.
That one's a little bit more difficult. If you
But
can
they
even
do
get
all-
left there, I tell you, you got a talent, because that takes
They,
effort.
Yeah,
very
that's-
talented people going that way. Seriously. Okay, the other safety issue is this week I was behind Macedonia Commons to go left, and there was an 18-wheeler there. who did not see the sign, because the sign's in the road here, not like on the post. So he had to, he's in the lane to turn left, he sees it, now he has to go straight. And he does, thank gosh. But meanwhile, you still got cars going this way. Can you put that, I know it's here, Macedonia comments, when you're looking at it, but can you put something on the post to say, no trucks in that lane, so they don't get in that lane at all?
We could have John, if you can address that, but I can tell you that we've become, and I hate to say this, we're very sign happy. And what we've come to find, and the chief, and I know our service director will echo this, unfortunately, people don't pay attention to those anyway. So I mean, we'll do it.
But they did pay attention, they saw this sign. But
Right.
he said, oh, now I'm sitting in here, I can't go that way. Meanwhile, you got 2 lanes of traffic, and you know how you gotta cut this way.
Sure.
For 18-wheeler to go there, I'm surprised nobody got hit.
We'll address that, John, if you could take care of
That's
that.
all. I just hate this 18-wheeler going, I don't wanna be wrong, so let me correct myself with the big, long truck.
Right.
Okay, now the main thing is my street light. It's still on my house. Attempted, yes. It's pointing this way. My house is this way. Somebody put a shield this way. It goes this way. Then somebody put something here, and it took 5% of the light away on the top of my driveway, which is like 100 feet from my house. It's still on my house. What's the next thing?
So I had John call again today about adjusting the pole, because we do know that there's a lean in that pole and it does need to be addressed, and he called again today, and that's kind of out of our hands. Now, I drove back out again last night to look, and I'm telling you, unfortunately, I'm not gonna get all the light off of your house or your yard. It's just not gonna happen. I mean, I don't think that there's any way without, and you talked about 2 safety items. This is a safety item for me, because that turn with that ditch, and I found out today that we have people that have turned into that ditch. If we don't illuminate that, that problem's gonna be even worse.
I'm not saying not illuminate the road. I don't want it in my yard, because the one on Berkshire, Mayor, one in Berkshire, my neighbor's here, he's like 50 feet closer to that light, there's nothing, there's 2 feet, there's tree lawn, nothing on his house, and he's closer to his light. So you can't fix it. It doesn't have to be on my yard, it shouldn't be on my yard, it shouldn't be on my house. Because they don't have it, she don't have it, nobody else has it. When it's adjusted right, you're right, it's leaning to our pizza.
Why don't we, we're gonna
I understand it,
continue,
didn't you?
I told John today that he should call every day until we get some type of timeline on when they're gonna come out. So we're gonna continue to pound that. Once we get that addressed, then we can try to look at where we're at in terms of that light. I can't invest any more time in that. We've done all we can do up to this point of keeping the light out of your yard, but we're trying.
It's been over a year now.
I
I'm
understand.
putting up with a light on my house that nobody else puts up with. I think it's unfair.
To be fair, I have a light in front of my house that does reflect into my windows, and I close the shades. That's just me. I understand your complaint, but we have to work to get the pole fixed first before we can address where the light's gonna be. I can't contribute any more time or effort to that, because until the pole's fixed, I mean, we're investing, how many hours do you think we've invested in this?
Been there 4 times, well, don't wanna count the shield going on the wrong way, then I had to call
I know, it's like,
on the other side, seemed like the wrong house, you know. I mean, we've bent the pole, we've
I know,
repositioned
they
it
climbed
out,
up the
put the
pole, I know
shield
that.
on, I mean, we're,
it's nothing against them, but it's not a 2-month thing I'm talking about here.
Nothing would be worse though if they fix the problem, gets the lights off your house, and they come out and fix the pole, and guess what, they move everything over. So why don't we fix the pole first,
I understand
and
that.
then fix
know
the
how long
light and
that's
make
gonna-
sure
we
where
know
it's
how long
going to
that's gonna
permanently be.
How long is that gonna take? We don't know, because we're not in charge of that.
Well, the squeaky wheel's gonna get the grease. We're gonna be squeaky.
I'm squeaking here.
I hear you.
Yeah.
Council Tully, you remember the
Well-
battle we had prior?
My squeak is done.
Just as we had done prior, I re-engaged our law department, because that's really how we got the poles replaced. The
Right.
last time is we had to go through legal with the
And they
electric
put it
company.
in wrong from the beginning.
Yeah. Mark doesn't put the new pole
I
in, but
did.
he is persistent.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Even my yard's leaning like this.
Yeah, so we did reach out this week, so hopefully we'll get a quicker response.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I tackle one more thing on yours with Speedway? Do we legally have a way to force them to move forward? There was a truck the other day a tow truck, but it's multi, the ones that they put them on, as I'm sitting at the light, turns. So that would have hit 3 different cars. Isn't there anything legally, if we're not gonna put up whatever those things are called, I know you don't like the way they look, I really want something done before somebody gets killed.
Those poles would stop it though,
They're
until
making,
they fix the porch.
they're making the change voluntarily right now, so that's the path we.
Yeah, but they've been
found now.
making the change voluntarily since spring, early winter. That doesn't mean it's happening, and every day You know, the chief has people sit there. It doesn't stop them. So what is it gonna take to get Speedway to pay attention and fix it? And I sure hope it's not a debt. So that's why I asked if there was anything legally. When I saw that yesterday, unfortunately, I was too many lanes over. I would have pulled in behind him and said, come here, I want you to read something.
Well, in all fairness, we did have to have this engineered. That does take time. I understand you want to rush and get it done, and I do too, but the problem is the first couple sets of prints that they had sent over to us were not the ones that we had agreed upon, so we had to send it back to them with our engineer's notes to get to the point where we're at today, where we finally have an accepted thing, which we've only had for what, 2 weeks now?
A week or two, yeah.
So we just finally had the final set of prints. We're gonna do it right, because there's other things impacted there like stormwater, but the safety is paramount to me too, I agree with you, but it has to be done right. So that's where we're at with it.
We could have put those little things up
Those
for
come
the
at a very
past
high
year
cost.
and stop the left turns. I know you don't like the way they look, but they do the job, and they would have done the job temporarily. People are more important.
Okay, moving on to pending our new legislation, ordinance 85.
I'd like to offer, I offer that we hold ordinance number 85, 2019 at its second reading.
An ordinance amending chapter 137 of the codified ordinances of the city of Macedonia, creating the position of service department supervisor within the Department of Public Service.
Ordinance 86.
I've moved to hold ordinance number 86 at second read.
An emergency ordinance amending ordinance number 69, 2019 relative to the compensation schedule for the non-union city employees of Macedonia.
So with that said, Nick, I'm gonna make an amendment. It's going to refer to section 1, an ordinance 69, 2019. We're going to exchange the verbiage of, I believe, captain to assistant fire chief.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, moving on to ordinance 90.
I'd like to offer ordinance 90, 2019 for its second and third reading by title only, please.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
An ordinance amending ordinance number 114, 2018 relative to current expenses and other expenditures of the city of Macedonia for the period of January 1, 2019 to December 31st, 2019.
Director Veras, can you give an explanation of this, please?
Thank you, Mayor. The main reason for this amendment is, we went through the whole year, a lot of the year without a agreement with the collective bargaining units, and it went back to beginning of 2018. So we had to amend a lot of the wage and hospitalization line items, and that's basically what this is made up of.
Thank you. And what is your pleasure?
I move we pass and post ordinance 90, 2019 according to law.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ordinance 90 passes. Ordinance 92.
I'd like to offer ordinance 92, 2019 for its first reading by title only, please.
An ordinance providing for the 2020 annual appropriations.
Ordinance 93.
I'd like to offer ordinance 93, 2019 for its first, second, and third reading by title only, please.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
An ordinance approving the use of the City of Macedonia Planned Capital Purchase Program for certain planned capital purchases.
Director Veras, I'll call on you once again, please.
I won't have a report today. This is a result of earlier piece of legislation that I had suggested. What we had done in the past when I was in Independence, developed a program where you basically set money aside for large capital purchase items. This allows you to create the encumbrance to carry over into a following year, which is usually prohibited by the state auditor's office.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Hearing none, what's your pleasure?
I move we pass and post ordinance 93, 2019 according to law.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ordinance 93 passes. Resolution 94.
I move to offer Resolution 94, 2019 for its first, second, and third readings by title only.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
An emergency resolution authorizing the city engineer to prepare plans, bids, and specifications, and further authorizing the mayor to advertise for bids to enter into contracts for the replacement of the water main along the entire length of Ledgeview Road.
Mr. Gelati, can you explain this, please?
Yeah, sure, Mayor. As we talked about in the work session, this is a fully funded water main replacement, fully funded by City of Cleveland Water Department. So essentially a free water main replacement for the city. So naturally the recommendation would be to accept the money, move forward with the project, replace the water main along Ledgeview Road, and follow it later in the season with repaving of Ledgeview Road.
Thank you.
Does Mr. Veras have anything to add? I hate to leave them out on
Oh,
this
no.
legislation.
These are the best kind of
You don't
projects
want to
that
talk about
are,
water lines?
no, these are fully paid for. I love these kinds.
I do have a question. I think that either one of you can answer it. Is this part, when we passed that legislation last year that we're going to move our maintenance to the city of Cleveland, our water main maintenance, is this part of that program?
No,
Or is this something completely different?
We applied for this.
Consistent with it.
Because we did have a piece of legislation that they were gonna take care of our water mains, right?
Mr. Bilk, you may be thinking of the legislation from,
Thinking of the restatement of the water.
yes,
services
that piece of
contract.
legislation from a few years ago. Yes, it is sort of related to that, and that restatement legislation from a few years ago, we turned over the system to Cleveland Water, and in that agreement, it allowed us to submit these funding applications
So
to
this is
Cleveland
something
Water,
we
and
did
this is
submit.
actually the third one that we've hit on. You'll remember in 18, we did the work on Shepherd Hills Boulevard and also on Robin Lane in the Birdie Streets. So yes, it is related.
And what's your pleasure?
I move to pass and post Resolution number 94, 2019, and the same according to law.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution 94 passes. Are there any other motions or legislative action?
Yes, I do have a motion. I'm authorizing the service director to accept on behalf of the city of Macedonia a donation from Home Depot, Macedonia. Oh boy, this is type, city of,
Yeah, you're right.
for outdoor, yeah, it says Macedonia twice, so for
Oh,
outdoor
sorry
Christmas
about that.
lights valued at $400.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And we thank Home Depot for that. That's definitely appreciated, and they've become a great partner with the city and working with us on a lot of different things. And I'd also like to thank Mr. DeBrus, who worked with them to help get those lights for us. Thank you for your efforts with that. It's appreciated. Moving on to correspondence from the
But
clerk.
before we do, I have another motion.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'd like to make a motion to cancel the scheduled council meeting for November 28th. It's Thanksgiving.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thanks. I'd like to have Thanksgiving with my family.
Mr.
Appreciate that.
Ferris, is that okay?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll be frying a turkey that day.
You
I'll
don't
be
want to
over
talk about
that day,
water
John.
that day?
No,
Okay, good.
it doesn't mix when you're frying a turkey.
Correspondence from the clerk.
I have none, Your Honor.
Next up is the mayor's report. A few things I want to talk about today. The rec center expansion. We have finally opened up the ladies' portion of the rec center expansion. I told you that's all I was going to do, so I'll leave it there. But there's further work to come. I'll talk about more of the construction piece as time goes on, but we're already working on the next steps in that process, and that'll be forthcoming. Don't forget, November 5th is the day to vote. Exercise your right to vote, and we ask everyone to get out and vote. The pavilion at Veterans Memorial Park is up. I don't think it's complete. I think they were awfully close. Are they near complete? It's up, but it's not done, correct?
It's done.
It's done as of today?
Just gotta clean up the mess.
That's awesome. If you have a chance, go take a look at that. They did a great job, and Dave Fike did an awesome job working with that. And I think he donated a lot of his time and
Yes, he
labor with that, so that's pretty awesome too. And the family that donated the money, that's also pretty awesome. We do appreciate that.
And you did a lot of the work yourself, right?
I'm just the old guy that walks around and looks like I'm busy.
He's the boss.
So when you see a gentleman out there, it's usually this guy right here helping out and doing a lot of the work, and I think it's a great thing you got going there, and I support you and I appreciate that.
Perception is everything.
Today we had the first graders from St. Barnabas in to come and visit City Hall. They had asked me to come and visit those children. A lot of those children are part of the Nardonia community, so we always have the outreach with our schools, which I think was a great time. I think our chiefs enjoyed it, and the kids had a blast coming in and seeing, and they even brought them into here, and we kind of talked about what a city council and a mayor does, and we had honorary council people sitting in your chairs, which was pretty funny, because you give this kid the gavel, and trust me, they want to just pound away and tell everyone to be quiet. So it was very entertaining, and we appreciate having them here. And last but not least, please don't drive distracted. Put down the phones and drive your car. Moving on to committee reports.
Parks and Rec had our meeting last week,
Yes.
Wednesday. It all
Yes.
was blurred together. Skip meeting. We went over. It was low on attendance. Or John was still out. We only had a few people from our group that were there. Our next meeting is November 6th at 6 o'clock. It's winding down to the end of the year. The mayor's going to be at that meeting. Yeah, you're scheduled to be at that. So we'll be talking more about budget stuff come then. And congratulations to Angela and John and the mayor and all the service crew for getting that locker room open this week. And that's all for that committee.
The Finance Committee of the Whole will be having a meeting on Tuesday, November 12th at 6:30 p.m. in Council Caucus. I'd like to see a lot of people there because we're starting to discuss the budget. If there's a lot of people, we can't get everybody in there, we'll come out here and do it. So show up if you can.
Any other committee reports? Hearing none, department reports. Director Notavich.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, the days are getting shorter now, so that means the leaves have begun to fall. We are going to be starting our collection this Monday on the 28th. We'll be running 2 units to start, and we're doing something different this year with the help of our new IT director, Kyle Collins. Did a fantastic job on our website. We now have a map of the city with highlighted roads that we have made 4 zones that we will be utilizing for leaf collection. This will allow us to update the dates that we're going to be in there. You can go on right now and see that the 2 zones that we have starting out are going to be on the 28th, and anticipated dates of the other 2 zones to follow. They are subject to change. Weather makes a difference, breakdowns, of course. We ask everyone, rake as often as you can, get those leaves out there. Run a windrow along the length of your property and from the edge of the road, no wider than 10 feet, please, so our machines can actually reach them. These are all hydraulic operated machines. They're no longer manual, so it allows us to get through all the developments quicker. Any signs, fire hydrants, mailboxes, keep the leaves 10 feet away from those as well, so our machine can swing around them and not cause any damage. Also, keep the leaves out of the street for passing cars. If you have a ditch line, if you could put them on the berm side, fantastic. If you cannot, if you don't have much of a berm side on your ditch, please put them on the property side of your ditch line. We will move them over to collect. We understand you have limited spaces where you can put them. Anticipated date to stop, I mean, we just throw a date out there. We say November 25th. We've always tried to make at least 3 passes, but the past few years we've made 5 or 6 passes. So we try, with weather permitting, we try to continue going around to get every last bit that we can. We can't control the weather or when all the leaves are going to fall, but we'll do our best as we always do. And also, one other thing with this time of year that we still have the warm weather, good time to check your mailboxes before the snow starts to come down here. Hopefully in a couple of months or so would be nice. Make sure they're fastened securely for our, any snow coming off our plows don't get knocked down, and check the screws and fasteners. And that's all I have.
Just to reiterate, you are not to put leaves in the road. There's so many problems that arise when you do something like that, because a lot of times, we know this is Ohio. What happens? We have rain, we have snow, we have hot, cold. Those tend to clog up our catch basins, which causes all kinds of stormwater problems, and we don't want that. You have to keep the leaves in your tree lawn. If you can't do that, call and ask a question. If you're unsure, because I know there's some unique spots where the ditches are kind of deep and they're far back, please call our service department. John will be more than happy to come out and direct you as to where you can put them and how we can help you. We will take every extra step we can to facilitate that, but do not put leaves in the road. That is a very, very bad thing for our catch basins and our stormwater control. So I beg you not to do that. Mr. Gelati.
Sure. Thank you, Mayor. We already talked about the Ledgeview Road water main enough, I think. I won't touch on that anymore. Only one other announcement. ODOT, as many of you probably are aware, will be closing North Bedford Road this upcoming weekend at our northern border with the village of Oakwood. The road closure will start tomorrow night at 7 p.m. and the road is scheduled to reopen Monday morning at 5 p.m., just in time for Monday morning rush hour. The signed detour will basically be to go west to use State Route 8. No further report.
Thank you. Director Manley.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to make sure that my audio is working because I want everyone to hear very clearly that the women's new locker room facility opened on this past Monday. It's been a long time coming. It's been a long process. We're very happy at this point in time. Our members have been nothing but complimentary. Our efforts can be seen. I have actually some visual aids, so if you'd like to turn your attention to the TVs in the room. This is just a glimpse of the new facilities. They are more than double in size than the previous facilities. We did add, for the women, extra counter space for drying their hair, putting on makeup, getting ready after showering or using our facility. We have dry dressing rooms so that people can change in private if they aren't comfortable being out in the open in a group setting. And if we go to the next one, this is a glimpse of our new showers on the left and then our sink area on the right. And I think we have one more slide. Those are our lockers and then our toilet partitions in our toilet area. So I wasn't able to capture any before pictures of the old facility just to kind of give people a comparison. The men have moved into that part of the facility. So the men's locker room has been vacated at this point, and demolition has started on that. So hopefully people will see this project, the pace of this project pick up a little bit from here on out. We're working feverishly to get that men's facility up and running. In the meantime, they are very content in the old women's compared to the conditions that they have been in for the last several months. So we are very pleased. If people haven't been to the rec center in a while, I invite them to come see the new facilities. We've had a lot of aesthetic changes over the last year or so. We've replaced all of our equipment. Our membership, I think, reflects the welcome changes by our patrons. Our membership at this point in the year is up well over $30,000 from this point last year. So I invite people to come visit us, and I will keep everybody updated on the progress of the additional locker rooms.
I also want to thank the service workers that helped build that facility. Now, I know this took a long time and everyone was very frustrated with the timeline, but we did a lot of that work in-house. A lot of our service workers did that, and it's greatly appreciated. We have guys that can do bricklaying, we have an electrician. I mean, a lot of those guys put a lot of time into that, so it's our own people that help build that, and that means a lot to me. Additionally, I'd like to thank Nino Monaco, our building commissioner, Director Notevangel, especially you, Director Manley, because I'll give you one example. On Sunday, Director Manley called me and said, "We got a problem." And she spent most of her day here Sunday, and I even grabbed a rag and helped her clean up on Sunday too and get everything ready to go for Monday morning, and the efforts are appreciated, and I thank you for that.
You're welcome. I was in there last night. It's awesome. You guys did a great job. It's beautiful, it's huge, and it's modern, and I haven't been to too many other locker rooms, but, you know, it's great for what it is.
Miss Manley, I asked this question a long time ago when I was going more on a regular basis. In your pictures, I didn't see any salad spinners on the wall.
There is one in there.
There is one in
Yes,
there?
we do have a suit extractor that was installed so people don't have to put wet bathing suits in their bags and take them home with them. And that seems to be one of the favorite features so far among our visitors. It's gotten a lot of use.
Thank you. Director Veras.
Well, hold on. Didn't we have a successful haunted hayride too? Do you want to touch on that?
We did have a very successful haunted hayride. That took place on October 12th. That is a first-time event for the community. We had probably about 1,000 people show up. We had, more than a dozen scenes set up. We had groups from the community volunteer to set up scenes. We had 3 wagons running, concessions by the Girl Scouts that night. So it was cold. I thank my staff who was there, and I definitely thank the service staff who was there, one who is present tonight, and his lovely wife, because she helped. Oh, 2! I forgot, you did sneak in. It was the first very, very cold night of the season, and we felt it. It was cold, but we got through, and I think for the most part, everybody was very pleased. We got a lot of positive feedback, so it's something we do plan to continue in future years.
And thanks for remembering that, because that's something that Director Manley and I have talked about, more community engagement and activities like that, and that's the good stuff that we want to continue to build on. As with our craft beer and food truck festival, these are all good things that we plan to build upon in the future. We're starting to establish and figure out what our strengths are with our activities, and I appreciate your efforts with that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Director Veras.
Thank you, Mayor. Like last month, my report will be in the messenger, the e-messenger, and it relates to the water M&E, and we can't repeat that enough until January comes along. So, end of my report.
Thank you. Chief Ripley.
Thank you, Mayor. Just like to remind everyone, this Sunday at this building, Fire Station number 1 from 4 to 6 is our children's Halloween party. It has fire truck rides and costume judging and cookies and cider and a lot of kids having a lot of fun. Always a big hit. Also, before our next council meeting, we are going to be turning our clocks back. Spring ahead, fall back, right? Yep. And then what do we do when we do that? We always change our batteries and our smoke detectors. So please remember to do that. Keep yourself safe. Also, I got a phone call today from the agent for Santa Claus. He informed me that the children of our community of the Nordonia Hills were good again this year, so he will be making a stop in mid-December, and there'll be more information coming out on that soon.
Awesome.
That's it.
Chief Golden.
Our new 911 system has arrived. It's referred to as Next Gen 911. The installer was here and inspected everything that came, and we received everything we were supposed to, and now we await a phone call next week to start the process of the engineering and the fun stuff that goes with that, and I'm hoping to have it installed sooner than later, so we shall see when that will be, but it is here.
Thank you. Director Gaddetti.
No report, sir.
Okay, is there any unfinished business?
One word, Guadalupe. Any update on the retention basin or the ability? Are we going to leave all the felled trees and damage for the winter?
I don't have any update unless you do, Joe.
No, I have no update either.
I can tell you from my efforts, in addition to these 2 gentlemen, we are still waiting on the diocese to give the green light. I have done all I could with calling not only Our Lady of Guadalupe and dealing with Father Kevin. He's working on it. He understands the urgency of it. I have made that very clear on more than one occasion, but unfortunately, until we have this finalization, we cannot move forward.
Do we have any inclination that they really are gonna finalize and go forward?
He has indicated to me that he does not feel this will be a problem. I have asked what the delay is. I'm not quite sure where the delay is coming from. I'm trying to deal directly with Father Kevin, and he assures me that we will have this done. It doesn't appear that it's going to happen this year. So I've done all I can. These gentlemen.
Not surprisingly, the Catholic Church has some draconian measures and steps that it has to go through, including a committee process internally. And my understanding is that's what's held it up to date.
Even though the pipe was created for them?
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure not my neighbor who's losing his property and has all the fell debris, but the other house that's almost on the corner is up for sale. and he had asked. So, thank you. My only other unfinished business, as the mayor always says, don't text and drive. Could you please read the speed signs and drive the speed limit? It does, you know, that stop signs mean stop. I almost got hit by a UPS truck driver yesterday on Valley View, down by Kevin's place. The guy just comes flying out, and then he flew up to 50 miles an hour because I kind of estimated I didn't go 50, and slammed on the brakes to turn right into the development, the next development. Guys, I know you're on a time schedule, but we have human beings that live in this community, and we have a lot of deer, so don't be surprised, Mr. Amazon, UPS, FedEx, whoever. Hitting a deer is fatal usually for the deer, but could be fatal for you.
I'll make a motion for adjournment.
No,
Well,
I
wanted to
have a new
mention
business.
New business. I just wanted, Nick mentioned it in his report, that November 5th is election time. It is very important that we get out and vote. That's the most important thing. Just because there's not a lot of issues or a lot of, things going on doesn't mean that you shouldn't go out there. I think local politics is your most important, just because it affects you in your everyday life. So make sure that you get out there and get that ballot box fixed.
Yeah, the only thing I want to do,
Stuff that ballot box.
it's good stuff. This is not a complaint. I would like to congratulate the girls volleyball team in Nordonia. I can't tell you how long ago that my sister was on the team that won districts. Her and Cindy Greenlee. Some people might know Cindy. So this Saturday, they are playing in Solon. Wish them well, that they actually do well and bring home the district championship and move on. I'd also like to wish Jaden Wimbush, cross country, has moved on. I get to see those guys all spring, summer, fall, down on the trail because they run in Brecksville on the National Park Trail. And as they leave me in the dust, they're very fast, and I hope he runs like the wind, and he's this Saturday at Boardman. So good luck to the teams and to Jaden. And one of the girls' volleyball members was recognized in the Akron Beacon today. So it's good news. Thank you.
Any new business? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.